All right, let's dive into one of history's most amazing cultural remixes, the incredible art of Gandhara. And it all kicks off with this wild question. How in the world did a Greek god's face somehow end up on a statue of the Buddha?
Well, the answer is actually hiding right here in plain sight, in these incredible pieces of art. I mean, look at this. It's obviously a Buddhist scene, right? But take a closer look. See that realism? The way the body is formed, the way the clothes just hang with actual weight? That's not from India. No way. That style was born thousands of miles away in ancient Greece. So, how did this happen? Let's figure it out.
Okay, to get the art, you've got to get the location. This whole story goes down at a genuine cultural crossroads, a place where ancient Greece and India didn't just shake hands, they basically slammed into each other and created something entirely new. We're talking about the Gandhara region, which is in modern-day Pakistan and Afghanistan. For centuries, this place was a huge melting pot for trade, for ideas, you name it. And things really got supercharged after Alexander the Great came marching through, way back in the 4th century BCE. He brought this whole wave of Greek or Hellenistic culture with him.
So what happens when these two, massive artistic traditions meet? Well, you get this amazing Greco-Buddhist fusion, literally two worlds smashing together to create one totally unique art form. It's almost like you can see the recipe laid out right here. You've got the Greek influence on one side, that focus on a realistic human body, the wavy curly hair, and look, that super detailed clothing or drapery. And then, from the Buddhist side, you get the heart and soul of it all, the religious themes, the stories from the Buddha's life, and that focus on pure serenity.
I mean, just look at the robes on a statue like this one. See that? How they fold and fall with real, believable weight? That is so not a traditional Indian style. That's a classic Greek sculpture technique being used halfway across the world from Athens. It's incredible.
And there's a name for that technique. It's called drapery. It's the art of carving cloth to make it look totally natural and realistic. It was a hallmark, like a signature of Greek sculpture. So when you see it on a Buddha, you're literally seeing a Greek artistic fingerprint on a Buddhist icon.
Even the stone they used tells part of the story. Most of these pieces are carved from something called schist stone. It's this gray rock that was just perfect for getting all those tiny, fine details. Exactly what you need if you're trying to capture that Greek-style realism. So you put it all together, right? You take the Greek style, the Buddhist spirit, and what do you get? You get what we call Greco-Buddhist art. It's kind of the perfect name for it, isn't it? It says exactly what it is. But this fusion wasn't just about style. It led to something absolutely revolutionary, a breakthrough that would literally change religious art forever, all over the world. Okay, get ready for this, because this is the really big deal. Before Gandhara art, artists never showed the Buddha as a person, ever. That's right, for hundreds of years, if you wanted to represent the Buddha, you had to use symbols. You'd see things like footprints, or maybe an empty throne, or the Bodhi tree, the tree he sat under when he reached enlightenment. It was all about showing his presence, not his actual person.
And then came the artists of Gandhara. They saw how the Greeks portrayed their gods in these perfect human forms, and they must have thought, hey, we can do that. So they did something completely radical. For the very first time, they gave the Buddha a face. This calm, serene, human face, often with that telltale wavy hair. This was a game changer, a monumental shift.
And you better believe an idea this powerful didn't just stay in one place. Nope, this art went on to shape an entire continent. Let's take a look at its lasting legacy. So, just to put it in context, Alexander the Great plants the Greek cultural seeds way back in the 4th century BCE. Then, the art itself really starts to flourish around the 1st century CE thanks to the Kushan Empire. And this golden age lasts for a few hundred years before things start to decline around the 5th century CE due to invasions. And as Buddhism started to travel out of India, along the famous Silk Road, this new image of the Buddha in human form went right along with it. The Gandhara style basically became the blueprint. It influenced how the Buddha was shown all across Central Asia, into China, and even as far as Japan. So why should we care about all this ancient history today? What's the takeaway? Well, I think it's because it speaks to something totally timeless about how people and cultures connect. There's a great quote that says, This art offers invaluable insights into ancient cultural exchanges and artistic evolution, and that really hits the nail on the head. It's just a stunning window into how our interconnected world got started.
Because at the end of the day, Gandhara art isn't just about dusty old statues. It's physical proof, beautiful, tangible proof, of what happens when different cultures meet, when they connect, when they share, and when they create something totally new and amazing together.
And that kind of leaves us with one last question to chew on, right? If this incredible art is what happened when Greece met India 2,000 years ago, what kind of amazing new things are being born right now from the cultural crossroads that are all around us today?